Welcome back to Convince Me. We're kicking off another NFL season here with the best, smartest, most winning group of football betting analysts in the history of the world. We're going to come back officially for week one on opening Sunday. This is our preseason look at futures, at long shots, at player props that we love. I got Simon Hunter. I got Chris Raybon. I got Sean Koerner. I got Darren Rovell and Evan Abrams bringing us market reports and research from the Action Network news desk. Don't forget, you can follow along with everything we're talking about in the Action Network app. Is the best place to track your picks and see what our experts are doing. We are presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, Virginia, and Iowa. Bet $1 and get $300 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, also, coming up, I got to remind everybody, we are also sponsored by Bet365 at the Favorites podcast. You can enter to win $100,000 in prizes with our season-long pick'em contest, with our weekly pick'em contest. Prizes galore. Listen to the Favorites podcast with me and Simon Hunter to get all the details. Before we begin, one more thing. All of our podcasts are streamed on the Action Network. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. Finally, fellas, Koerner, Raybon, Simon, we're getting to it. We're getting to the first pick of our Convince Me season for 23-24. Season-long player props. Sean Koerner, let's see if you can actually bring me something that I'm convinced to take, and maybe you will go after one of your fellow panelists.
Sounds good. Yeah. What's up, Chad? I have a prop that I absolutely love for you, and that's Breece Hall to have less than 900.5 rushing yards this season. You can get this at -150 at Bet365 right now. And looking at last year, if you just blindly bet the under on all running back season-long rushing props, you would have hit 60% of your bets. But if you take it a step further and only attack the under on running backs where, their workload might not have been guaranteed throughout the season, you would have gone 10-2. And I think Breece Hall is the exact type of back where that would apply because, Breece Hall is still working his way back from the ACL tear he had back in October. And while he was able to return to practice just a couple weeks ago, he's still yet to get tackled. So I think early in the season, they're going to limit him quite a bit. I mean, that's also why they brought in Dalvin Cook. They didn't sign Dalvin Cook to a 1-year, $7 million contract to just watch Breece Hall get a ton of touches. So I think they want to kind of limit Breece Hall this year, make sure he's healthy for next year. So this is one of the props where I'm showing about 200 yards of value on his under. So the fact that it's -150 doesn't really scare me away, nor should scare you away. I would have this closer to -300. That's how confident I am that he's going to finish with less than 900 yards this year.
I hate when I feel like I've read the script and I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do. And then Koerner comes in and gives me an idea, which I wasn't really into, but then he gives me the price of what it should be. And I'm like, oh, crap. Because Raybon knows how much I hate betting like huge juice because he thinks I'm super poor and just is afraid to spend the extra money. Simon, can you convince me to do something other than Breece Hall?
I can, Chatty, because I know you love a plus number, and that's what I'm about to give you. I want to take Herbert leading the league in passing yards, Bet365. And it's just a great number. It's a guy that I feel like last year we saw him take that step, and then this year we're going to see him really take that next leap where, he's got all the talent in the world. It always just felt like he's been held back by coaching. And this offseason, they blamed that terrible playoff loss on their offensive coordinator and brought in a new OC. And that's a big deal, right? When you're switching that up and you're bringing someone else that has kind of the same game plan and mindset that Herbert seems to have, which is I want to push the ball downfield. So, the fact they brought in Kellen Moore is one of the bigger deals to me this offseason that's not really being talked about with this Chargers team. And if you look at his 2021 numbers, he already threw for over 5,000 yards, Chad. So we know the kid's got the talent. It would just feel like they had a season from hell last year. He cracked his ribs, and now he's coming back, and he's got Mike Williams, he's got Keenan Allen. Those are two huge guys that have healthy for him all season. And they went out and got him a first-round rookie at the wide receiver position. So if we just project out this kid, he's got all the talent around him. It's just, can he stay healthy, and can the coaching staff support him? I think we get both this season. So the fact you get him at plus 550, it's a good number. Like, to me, he should be the favorite. Their offense seems built around his arm. So I love the value right now. Herbert to lead the league in passing yards this season, plus 550.
You know what, Simon? I kind of love it too. But I do want to hear, Raybon has a history of giving me something disgusting and then being mean to me about it. And then I still end up taking it. So, Raybon, will this be the beginning of the same tradition?
Now, I think I got to switch it up and shout out my guys, Koerner and Simon here, because I would take both of their props over the one I'm about to give you. I'll say that right now. That Breece Hall prop is absurd. I don't know who Sean talked into posting that line, but that is an absurd number. I've been talking about that all offseason, fade Breece Hall. And I was in the process of writing up Herbert to lead the league in passing yards. Like, I'm dead set on Justin Herbert leading the league in passing yards. He already is averaging 288 for his career. I think that's the most in the first 3 years ever by a quarterback. And now he's going to get a more aggressive OC. So I love those two picks. But I'll still give you mine just so I could give y'all something disgusting. Brian Robinson Jr. under 750.5 rushing yards. This is simple to me. 2 down back. Projected last place team, one of the lowest win totals in the league, new offensive coordinator who has never coordinated an offense that finished better than 20th in rush attempts. Robinson is facing competition from 2 places, not just Antonio Gibson, who Ron Rivera says he wants to get more tries, and that was a quote, but also 6th-round rookie Chris Rodriguez Jr., who Bieniemy himself banged the table for them to draft and who made the final roster. And we have a precedent for this. Last year, Bieniemy in Kansas City, they benched Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the middle of the season for a 7th-round rookie in Isaiah Pacheco. So the writing's on the wall here for Robinson, who, by the way, under 4 yards a carry last year, one of the worst backs in terms of yards after contact, which is not great for a bigger back. And even his college yards per carry was in the 29th percentile. So this has never been a real explosive back. He's going to need every carry that he can possibly get to go over his total. And by the way, the average running back over the last decade misses about 3.5 games per year. And that was mostly with 16-game seasons. So everything points to the under. But still, take Breece Hall first.
All right. Well, that's what I need to ask you, right? So we love Koerner's. We love Simon's. Help me make a choice on which one I should choose.
I love Simon's, and I'm going to write that up, but you know me, I'm always going to go with the one that's just the most off in terms of expected value versus the actual line. And like Sean said, that Breece Hall prop should probably be closer to like 650.
Dude, Simon, he did you dirty right there. Like, I was all in on Justin Herbert, but he came in on Breece Hall. I got to go with Breece Hall now. That's just the way it's going to be. But you know what?
We should all go with Breece Hall. Like, we should stop this show and all just go bet this Breece Hall prop. Right. Like, Simon, Chad, all of the producers behind the scenes, all y'all out there, just hammer that Breece Hall prop to any juice. I don't care. Like, that is an absurd number.
Yeah, we're all going for it. And by the way, these picks are like our kids. We don't hate any picks. We just might like one of the picks a little bit more, at least in my family, Now,
sometimes we hate them. Sometimes.
You're right. All right, let's go on to team win totals. Koerner, give me your team win total your team win total bet.
Yeah, so I'm going with Cowboys under 10.5 wins at minus 135. And according to my NFL wins total calculator that you can find at actionnetwork.com, which is a tool I created that allows you to compare what my season simulator spits out and compare it against any number, any money line to see, what value each line's offering. And as of now, this is the number and price that's currently showing the most value. And mainly because I have them finishing closer to 9 to 10 win season. So getting that extra half win here is crucial. But there are a few reasons why I think it's going to be tough for them to match their 12 win total from last year. The first is they just have a tougher schedule this year. Last year they had the 5th easiest schedule. This year it's closer to league average. And part of that has to do with last year they were paired up with the AFC South. This year they're facing the brutal AFC East. Plus their new 17th opponent this year is the Chargers. So their schedule is just a bit tougher this year. The second reason is they could be in line for regression in terms of red zone touchdown percentage. They were both top 5 in offense and defense in that metric last year. It's something that tends to regress towards league average year over year, a little bit more so on the defensive side. But the offense itself could take a step back, just moving on from Kellen Moore to Mike McCarthy calling the plays, which sort of leads me to my third and final reason is, according to McCarthy, they want to be a more run-heavy team. I don't know how that's possible. They could slow the pace down. So I think that combined with the tougher schedule might get them in more one-score games, which is an area they've been pretty fortunate in the past couple seasons. They're 10-5 in one-score games. So that's yet again another metric that'll probably regress towards league average. So all those kind of point to me showing value on the under. I have this closer to minus 200.
You know what's interesting about this? On the Favorites podcast presented by Bet365, which if you listen to it, you can get details to sign up for a contest in which you can win tens of thousands of dollars, 6 figures in prizes being given away. On that very podcast, which Chris Raybon was a guest on yesterday, and which Simon is my co-host, they both talked about how much they love the Cowboys this year. Love the value on the Cowboys to win the NFC East. So Simon, Koerner's trying to convince me that I should bet the under on the Cowboys. What do you want me to bet for a team win total?
I'll say he's more of a man than me. I couldn't do it. I get where he's coming from, but I just could not do it with the Cowboys. I'll give you an ugly over, Chad. I know how much we love unders here, but I got an ugly over for you. I'm going with the Rams over 6.5. And it's just a team that, they're left for dead by the general public, right? Everyone just talks about how their defense is all these undrafted rookies. They're just terrible across the board, right? They went all in on that Super Bowl 2 years ago, and now they're left with rags. There's nothing left, right? Those are the teams I love in football. I love the teams that it's just a bunch of really young, good talent, and they're all hungry. And you got a coach that, we all agree, right? Sean's one of the top 5 minds in all football creating offense. And this year, you've heard Stafford say he feels healthier this season than he did heading into that Super Bowl season, right? He's got his body right. I know we had a little hiccup there with Cooper Kupp, but I do think he's going to come back and they'll be strong. So to me, I've modeled this team out in their division of 4-2. I got them with 2 easy wins against Arizona, splitting with Seattle, splitting with the 49ers. Now we already have 4 wins, Chad. We need 3 more out of the remaining games. I like those odds. So to me, they're a team that I think they're going to shock some people that they can still produce on offense. Too much is put into defense where we know what this league is. It's an offensive league. And they're one of those teams where if they're in a close game and Stafford has the ball last, I feel really confident about the position I'm in with this team. So to me, they're a team that I do think they're in for some dark days ahead, but this might be the one last year they can make an actual push before it all comes crashing down. So I still like this team. I think they're getting good value at the over 6.5.
I love this bet so much. It may be impossible for Raybon to convince me otherwise.
Go ahead, Raybon. I have to go over 6.5 Googles just to figure out who their starting defense is outside of Arizona. But outside of that, I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Titans over 7.5. So we're going with another pretty ugly over that the public has kind of left this team for dead. First of all, we know how good Mike Vrabel is as a head coach. 4-1 over the win total in his 5 years as the head coach. The one under was last year. And let's not forget, even when they went under last year, they started 7-3. Then everything just came apart. A lot of bad injury luck. They were the 3rd most injured team. finished 0-7. 4 of those games were one-score games. One of them was a game Malik Willis didn't even throw for 100 yards. Another one was that game where they were up with under 3 minutes to go on the Jaguars, and then the quarterback they signed off the street gets fumbled sixth. So just a lot of bad luck. And I think people are forgetting that this is one of the most talented defensive fronts in the league with Jeffrey Simmons, Tart, Alshire, just all these guys on the front. You got one of the best safeties in the league in Bayard. And then offensively, you have Ryan Tannehill, who 7.8 yards an attempt last year, right on his numbers, career average with the Titans. DeAndre Hopkins gives Tannehill the best wide receiver he's had since A.J. Brown, Traylon Burks, Chiga Okonkwo, year 2 leap candidates, new left tackle Andre Dillard, 1 sack over his last 261 pass blocking snaps, because I know everybody's scared of this offensive line. The backup quarterback situation even should be better. Willis looks a little better, and they got Will Levis there, who's a second-round pick as well. And then you look at the schedule. 2 games against the Colts, 2 games against the Texans, and you get to play the other worst division in football, the NFC South. So that could be your 8 wins right there, without even venturing outside of the NFC South in those 2 games against the Colts and Texans. So and not to mention, Tennessee has a winning straight up record all time as an underdog with Vrabel. So love this Titans team. They've been a winning team for 4.5 years, 4 3/4 years of Vrabel's tenure. They had this 0-7 stretch where the bottom just fell out and everyone's just writing them off in what's still a weak division. I think this is the best team in this division. I think they win the division, and I think this win total is about 1.5 wins too low.
Listen, things you can count on as a bettor in the NFL. Mike Tomlin covering as an underdog, John Harbaugh covering in any capacity, both Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh going over their season win totals consistently in their career, Mike Vrabel out-coaching just about everybody, generally winning and covering as an underdog. I hate this offensive line so much, and you made a great point about the Rams, like, you got to Google more than 6.5 times to figure out who's playing defense for them. These are both disgusting picks. This is what it's about. This is what betting is about. Like, you got to make really, 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 really bad choices. And I'm stalling a little bit because I was on the Rams, but now I'm kind of on the Titans. And I think it's because of Mike.
What about the Cowboys?
Bro,
here's the problem.
Nobody's trying to fade the Cowboys.
You don't want to fade the Cowboys?
The Cowboys are going to be so nasty this year. It's like, I cannot even.
I'm not saying they're going to be
bad.
That
is the ugliest.
That
is the ugliest. Actually, that's the ugliest pick of the three.
Yeah, that's
it's
exactly.
true. See? It is. But I've spent the last 24 hours ever since Raybon and Simon started, like, just completely shining the Cowboys, feeling regretful that I didn't make more Cowboys futures bets. So I want nothing to do with the Cowboys right now. I think I'm going with the Titans over 7.5. Like, I don't know what Raybon just did. I think producers need to figure out how to switch up the order so he's not always the anchor, because it feels a little unfair. But I think I'm going with the Titans at over 7.5. I don't know why. I love the Rams so much. And I will say, for the record, one of my bigger futures bets is the Rams to win the NFC West at 10-1. I will give you a stat from Evan Abrams, since Evan Abrams is coming up in the next segment. In 18 of the past 20 years, a team has gone from worst to first to win their division. Why not the Rams, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen with the Niners. I know Simon and Raybon are fading the Niners this year. The Seahawks are due for some regression. Why can't the Rams get healthy? Why can't Matthew Stafford find his way back? So Evan and Darren, we're going to you guys on the Action Network news desk. We're going to do some market updates. We're going to do some stats we don't know, like what I just delivered from Evan Abrams. Darren, what is the market telling us about win totals?
Well, it is great to see you, Chad, and it is awesome to be here for yet another season. Let's start with the win totals, the most bet overall by tickets. So this is what the public thinks is like the automatics. We're going to bet these things. We have the Patriots the Cardinals and the Commanders, you see 7.5, 4.5, and 6.5. And then I'm going to bring you the most bet overs. So what is it? The teams that are being the most underestimated. And that's the Patriots, the Steelers at 8.5, and the Commanders at 6.5. And then the most bet unders, which are the Cardinals at 4.5, the Raiders at 6.5, and the Jets at 9.5. Ev, what do you think about these things?
I just can't believe for the first show of the year I'm sitting here and I'm being told to talk about the Cardinals. So we're going to have to go off. But I think the most interesting thing, and I looked this up, right? So the Cardinals win total at 4.5. The next win total at most sports books at 6.5. That 2-win gap we haven't seen in any year in the last 20 years. Now, yeah, I get it. There's one more game. There's a little more variance. But this Arizona team is the worst in a single season we've seen in a long time. But if you look, since 1990, which is the wild card era, Arizona is the 26th team with a win total below 5. Those 25 teams are 14, 9, and 2 to the over. So Arizona could have it, maybe not, but data says they'll go over.
All right, Darren, what
All
else
right.
you got for us?
Okay, now we have make playoffs, miss playoffs. Most bet teams buy tickets to make the playoffs. Let's take a look. We have the Broncos plus 185, the Steelers plus 130, and the Cardinals at plus 1125 to make the playoffs. That is not, I was asked if that was a typo. It is not. And now the most bet teams to miss the playoffs. We have the Jets at plus 100, the Lions at plus 145, and the Packers at minus 210. Now, Ev and I talked a little bit before. I have to make my fade Rovell. And listen, I'm in a tough position here. I'm a Jets fan, and I hate Aaron Rodgers' guts. I think he is the biggest idiot as a person. So anyway, I am going with the Jets to end the 12-year drought, and they will make the playoffs. So that is my pick. I think they somehow get it done. The offensive line is good. Mekhi Becton, they're friends now, Aaron Rodgers. And I think the Jets make the playoffs despite my hatred. And don't tell me to tone down that word of Aaron Rodgers.
I would never try to control you, Dan Rovell. You're uncontrollable. I also feel like you did this on purpose. Your hatred of Aaron Rodgers is overwhelming your passion for the Jets. So you're honestly trying to mush the Jets right here on Convince Me. Evan, are you going to take us out with a trivia question? Is that what's happening right now?
I was going to tell you, Aaron, don't tell Aaron Rodgers. Darren likes him to make the playoffs. But moving on. So the Jets, 12-year streak that Darren was talking about, that's the longest playoff drought in the NFL. My question to you two is who's second? Who's the second longest at the moment behind the Jets? At 7 years.
7 years, playoff drought, NFL. I'm going to go with
the Washington Redskins, Commanders.
Oh,
it's the Washington Commanders now.
No, Redskins / Commanders.
Oh, Evan says you're wrong. I would say, God, that's tough. That's tough. I don't know.
It's their longest drought in 50 years as a franchise. I'm just going to tell you, it's the Broncos.
Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos.
That's wild.
And the third is the Lions.
That is some wild stuff. Listen, you can get more trivia like that all season long on Convince Me, which is presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, Virginia, and Iowa. Bet $1 and get $200 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's get on. We got two more bets. Coming. First one, Longshot Bets. Sean Koerner. Lay it on me.
So I'm going with the 49ers to be the last undefeated team. You can get it at 13-1. Now, I'm in line with their 10.5 win total. I'm not saying bet the over on that. I'm not saying take them 10 to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying take them -2.5 week one against the Steelers, but this specific market, they have a few key factors going their way. And when I pulled, for my season sims, what the odds for this market should be, they were the clear favorites. I had them closer to +800. So I love this specific bet for the Niners. And the first reason is they have the third easiest schedule over the first 6 weeks, and that time period is critical for this market. If they can start off 5-0, 6-0, you're likely going to take this market down. Now there are, a couple really good teams this year. So if it does happen to go like 8-0 and they're tied with a team, they have a unique advantage. They have a bye in week 9. So the Bills, Chiefs, Eagles all have tough matchups that week, and the Niners get a pass. So if it does get to that point, they have a sneaky edge. The other team that has a good chance of, going 8-0 is the Bengals, but they play the Bengals in week 8. So, and that game's in San Francisco. They're 1-point favorites. So another sneaky reason why they have an edge in this specific market. So like I said, this should be closer to +800. So love the value we're getting on this at 13-1.
All right, Simon, what do you got?
I was going to say, poor Sean. At this point last year, I think Chad's favorite team was Denver. So definitely not a good sign if you're a 49ers fan. Chad tends to mush these people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ouch. That's terrible and mean.
I got another long shot bet for you, Chad. I'm going with the Saints at 20-1 to have the best record in football. And at this point last year, I was giving out the Eagles, and the same fact I'm giving out the Saints this year. It's a team with a lot of upside and an easy division that we expect they'll be able to get wins. Now, little did I know the NFC East almost had 4 teams make the playoffs last year. So that was definitely a lucky part on me that the Eagles were so good in division that ended up being way tougher. I just don't see it being that way for the Saints this year. I think Derek Carr is finally in a winnable division with a team that believes in him, supports him, has brought in pieces to make his job easier. It just feels like it's all there for this run with Derek Carr, where he has to know this is kind of it, right? He's got another year or two to prove that he belongs in this league, or he's done. I mean, he's had a lot of years since that MVP run where he got hurt and he didn't win MVP, but he was really, really talented. And it's just kind of been average now for these last couple of seasons. I feel like everyone's given up on him. Anyone I talk to, they're just totally out on the Derek Carr experience. And that's where I come in at. It's like I gotta buy low on a guy and buy low on a team that is just being left for dead. So the fact that they have my rated third easiest schedule in football, right? They get Bryce Young, first-year starter. They get Desmond Ridder, first-year starter, and then Baker Mayfield. That's their competition in this division. And I think when we had Sean on, he talked about the Saints were the third most unlucky team last season in the luck rankings. So we expect them to have better luck this upcoming season. To me, with better quarterback play, right, that will show out to having more wins. And I could easily see this team getting to 14 wins. It's just there's always that one shocking team, and I feel like last year we had that with the Eagles, and this year I got it being the Saints. It's just the NFC is just a weaker conference. It would be shocking to see an AFC team really dominate the win total. So kind of playing the numbers here. Do I really think the Saints are going to lead the league in wins, Chad? No. But at 20-1, I think I'm getting a really good number there and a good price for a team that I think they're going to win their division, and they play in the easier conference in the NFC.
You have been sneaky coming on to the Saints the last couple of weeks. If you listen to the Favorites podcast, like every episode as we've gone through our division previews, you have gotten closer and closer to loving the Saints, including yesterday when you said it was one of your favorite division win totals. Or division win bets. I'm very convinced by your argument, Simon. I am. Even though I don't think Dennis Allen can lead a team to the best anything in the NFL.
Tough. It's tough.
Raybon, you got a sneaky, interesting one that I love.
Yeah, I'm going with Bijan Robinson to lead the league in rushing yards as a rookie this year at 10-1 at Bet365. Now, since the AFL NFL merger in 1970, we've seen about 11% of the rushing leaders be rookies, and that's picked up a little bit over the last decade or so. Ezekiel Elliott in 2016, followed up by Kareem Hunt the very next year. That means 2 of the last 7 have actually been rookies. And when you start breaking down this market, you have Derrick Henry, who's a little bit older. You have Nick Chubb, who's a little bit older. So I like that I'm getting some youth here at a little bit of a discount in Bijan Robinson. And let's not forget, this Falcon team led the NFL in rushing attempts last season, just under 33 a game. And Atlanta is 7th in our guy Brandon Anderson's offensive line rankings, which are up right now at actionnetwork.com. Great piece. And I'm in line with that. I think Atlanta has a top 6-7 O-line in the league, left to right. I think they have good players at all the spots. So I really like Bijan here at, anything 9-1 or better, really. Still getting 10-1. I think there's some good value for him to lead the league in rushing yards as a rookie. And he could still give up some carries to Tyler Algier because this team is probably going to average over 30 again because, like Simon said, they got Desmond Ridder at quarterback. So you got to kind of hide him a little bit.
Love this bet. No argument for me. This is the one I'm taking. Bijan, lead the league in rushing at 10, 11, whatever it's available at. Arthur Smith has proven to be a genius offensively and not in sort of the wide open spaces, toss the ball down the field. Like, he gets the most out of his squads and plays football, coaches football in a very specific way that focuses on the run game. You saw what he's done with Cordero Patterson. We saw what he did to turn Derrick Henry into a 2,000-yard rusher when he was with Tennessee. What he does with that offensive scheme is brilliant. 100% on Bijan Robinson. He's going to be the best talent they have. He's going to want the ball out of Desmond Ridder's hands as quickly as possible. The quickest way to do that is to get it to Bijan. Give me Bijan. Last one, fellas. Last one, Super Bowl futures. You could say it's the Super Bowl of this show. You get that? It's the Super Bowl of this show. Koerner, what's your Super Bowl future?
So I'm going with the Miami Dolphins at 25-1. They're a team where the fate of their season will come down to Tua's health because unfortunately, he's at risk of missing multiple games this season, possibly longer if he gets another concussion. So they're a team that has a wide range of outcomes. I'm not touching their season win total as a result. But, this market has to do a ceiling. They have one of the highest ceilings in the league. So I love them at 25-1. Last year when Tua was healthy, he was second in EPA per dropback, only behind Patrick Mahomes. So that has a lot to do with having one of the best wide receiver duos in the game in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but also having just a high-end scheme under Mike McDaniel. They went 8-4 in games when Tua was able to finish the entire game. They were one of the best offenses in the league in those games. And then, unfortunately, disaster struck at the end of the season. They even had to start third stringer Skylar Thompson in the playoffs, and they nearly upset the Bills. So I think that's a testament to how well coached this team, how good the offense is under Mike McDaniel. So this is just banking on them staying through the season healthy, to making it through all 17 games and through the playoffs. And on the other side of the football, they're bringing in Vic Fangio. He should turn the defense around. They should be a lot better. And it was a massive blow, losing Jalen Ramsey. He's expected to miss most of the season, but there still is a chance he's back for the playoffs. And again, that's massive in this market. So he could, be back for the playoffs and help them make a Super Bowl run. So they're a team with a ton of upside. So I like taking him here at 25-1.
Oh my God, Koerner, you're so doomed. I can't tell you how many times I've talked about how much I love the Dolphins and how many times Simon has just completely cratered all my hopes and dreams. If either Koerner, either you and I are going to be so rich after this season, no one will ever see us again, or I've completely,
you'll be taking those minus 150 juice props at that point.
All right, I don't have to worry about the juice.
Exactly. And in our defense, I think you took my Lions over 6.5 wins last year, and that worked out just fine. So I'm not too worried about it that you like them.
It did. Or I've completely doomed you. Simon, go ahead.
I was going to say, he also took your Bills Super Bowl future last year when I gave out the Chiefs on this exact show.
Oh, shit.
Simon, by the way, Simon keeps receipts. If you think Simon doesn't have them, he got them.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. But yeah, going back to the same kind of mentality I had the Chiefs last year. The Chiefs were an undervalued team that the public really didn't understand. That the moves they had made in the offseason was beneficial to that team. We talked about them bringing in the 2 tight end set, right? Having that defender have to step up. That was a big deal to Mahomes. Mahomes really didn't go downfield last year, and that ended up winning them a Super Bowl, right? He was keeping it under 20 yards, and that was what worked for them. Now we're going the opposite spectrum. I'm going with the Chargers this year, Chad. 25-1, a team that I feel like they're not being talked about just because they were the team of everyone last year, right? They were the public darling, right? They closed at 14-1 right before the season kicked off. Now a year later, they've improved. They have a better OC, and they're at 25-1. It doesn't make sense. Like, to me, that's where you're simply getting a good value because they're in a division with a team that is coming off a Super Bowl win. So everyone's assuming they won't win this division, which will bump their odds down. To me, they're just a live team all season. Like, I love the Chargers in every way. I already talked about Herbert. It's just an undervalued team where we talk all the time, Chad, that what's the biggest advantage of football? It's these teams that have these star quarterbacks on rookie deals. And this is it for the Chargers, right? They got a really small window here with Herbert, and it feels like this is the year, right? They put it all together. Everyone's healthy coming into camp, and that was a big deal. And they've been healthy through camp. Now heading into the season, they're all still healthy. So to me, at 25-1 with a team that could easily win this division for the first time in 7 years, right? The Chiefs have dominated this division, and that's the key if you're taking the Chargers. You need the Chargers to get that 1 or 2 seed, get that bye, so they're only playing 2 games. And at 25-1, I love that number, Chad. So if we're talking about a quarterback taking that next step, we keep talking about Herbert, I'll be really, really done for in fantasy drafts because I'm all in on Herbert across the board in fantasy and gambling. I just think it's that year where he takes that really, really big next step where we do talk about him, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and then Herbert.
All right, Raybon, give it to me.
I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys at 14-1. And excuse me, last year, I think, the Cowboys were a team that I wanted to fade. I wanted to fade them with the Eagles. And now I'm going back the other way because you look at Dallas and they were 2 overtime losses away from matching the Eagles in win-loss record. That's with Dak Prescott missing 5 games last year. That's with Prescott leading the league in interceptions in his other 12 games. So then you start to look at the roster, the coaching, all that. So love or hate Mike McCarthy, he's a coach that has a Super Bowl victory. He's done nothing but lead this team to back-to-back top 5 finishes in point differential. They led the NFC in point differential 2 seasons ago. Last year, they were top 5. And again, this is with missing Prescott for 5 games. And now you're looking at, okay, well, who's Dallas going to have to face off against? Because I think this team's going to be very good. Well, McCarthy plus Dak Prescott, that's one of the few, I think, head coach quarterback pairings in the NFC that you could say, okay, like they're not going to completely get embarrassed by Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes or McDermott and Josh Allen or, Burrow and Taylor, Sirianni, Hurts, Shanahan, Brock Purdy with Shanahan. Like, this team is going to be there with the rest of the elite teams in the National Football League. And then where are the holes on the roster? They added Stephon Gilmore, one of the best corners in the league, to play opposite Trayvon Diggs, one of the best corners in the league. Micah Parsons may be the defensive player of the year, one of the best defenders in the league, no argument. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Tyron Smith gives you great players at all the premium positions on offense as well. Tony Pollard, one of the best backs in the league. Moving on from Zeke could be addition by subtraction because they gave him a lot of carries, which is why I'm not quite convinced that Dallas is going to go super run heavy this year. They added Brandon Cooks at wide receiver too, so that now they can go back to that great offense that they had a couple years ago where they had Amari Cooper and all those receivers. Michael Gallup's another year removed from his ACL tear. And then you start to look at the indicators. 19 of the last 21 Super Bowl champs have had odds of 22-1 or shorter entering the year. And, some of the other, teams are going to be more popular at longer odds, but NFC is probably a 3-team race. It's probably going to be the Eagles, the Niners, and the Cowboys. Like, Jared Goff, is he really going to the Super Bowl with the Lions? Probably not. Derek Carr and Dennis Allen, probably not. So, I think the Giants might still be a year away, though I think they might surprise some people. So this Dallas team in a great spot in the NFC. And in the AFC, I think it's just going to be so much tougher for some of those long shots, even as good as the Chargers are, or as much upside as the Dolphins have, in the last 20 years, the teams in the AFC to reach the Super Bowl quarterbacked by either Mahomes, Burrow, Brady, Manning, or Roethlisberger in 19 of those 20 years. If you don't have like a future Hall of Fame quarterback, and maybe Herbert is that, so I'll give him that credit, but it's really tough. The last 4 years, Mahomes 3 times, Burrow once, and Josh Allen still hasn't gotten his. So and then you got Aaron Rodgers now in the AFC. So I just think the NFC is a great place to target. And I think the third best, the team that has is third in the odds is in a great spot in Dallas, because I think this team is right there with Philly and San Francisco. I challenge you to find holes on this Dallas Cowboy roster.
Yeah, there's a huge hole. His name is Mike McCarthy. And so
that's such a tired narrative, though. This dude has won this dude has won double-digit games more often than he hasn't. He did it in Green Bay. He said, "Oh, it's Rodgers." Then he comes to Dallas. He's won 12 games in back-to-back years while finishing top 5 in point differential. Like, what more do you want from the guy? Like, I'm not saying he's the best coach in the league, but he's not losing this team games like the narrative is. Like that's simply just not true. It's not true.
He's got a history of underperforming as a head coach with some of the most talented rosters.
No, you know who has a history of underperforming in key moments? Aaron Rodgers. No, you ever thought of that one? Like it's gonna even out at some point. Like
who are you, Rovell? Are you taking Rovell's side now? Is that what it's come to?
I mean, we might as well. You make a great argument. We're going with the chalk of all chalk most years, and the Cowboys somehow they're kind of going under the radar this year. But that maybe it's because the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. But I don't think you're gonna get many better shots than this to bet on the Cowboys and them actually being in prime position. Like their roster's great. The McCarthy narrative is overblown. Like he's not costing his team against Brock Purdy and the choking Niners or an Eagles team that's going to regress. Like he's just not going to cost his team to that level.
I love your passion, Raybon. Guess what? I'm going with the Chargers at 25-1. Here is my recap. Raybon helped me decide that I was going to take Breece Hall and under his total rushing yards for the year. Raybon convinced me I was going to take the Titans at over 7.5 wins, but I also love the Rams at over 6.5 wins. Then I took Bijan Robinson, Raybon's super special long shot to lead the league in rushing. I'm going with Simon and the Chargers 25-1 because this is the year and those are the odds that you want to get for that kind of team with that kind of quarterback. All right, I got to remind people, the Favorites podcast is also sponsored by Bet365, as Convince Me is. Go listen to the podcast. You can get the details on signing up for our Favorites podcast $100,000 pro football pick'em contest. Weekly prizes in the thousands of dollars if you win the pick'em for the week. Tens of thousands of dollars in play if you win the pick'em contest for the year. 5 games every week. Check it out. This has been Convince Me, presented by Bet365. For Sean Koerner, for Simon Hunter, for Chris Raybon, for Darren Rovell, for Evan Abrams. We will be back for week 1 of the NFL season, 11 a.m. Action Network HQ on the YouTube. You can you can subscribe. You can see us there. You can also see us in the Action Network app. Until next time, I am Chad Millman. Good luck to all of us.